Welcome back to League Life. When Josh Dugan choked back tears in front of the media last September, it was a shock. Crippled with depression, Josh isolated himself, he turned to painkillers and was on a downward spiral. 9 months later, he's determined to use his story for good to make sure no one else suffers in silence.
Townsend, Johnson, Dugan, he's over! Straight runner, Dugan, he has scored for Cronulla!
This is going to be a try, Dugan gets around one, and Cronulla get their third.
It feels like 2019 is already a more stable and an enjoyable season for you. We've seen you in 12 games this year. That's just as many as you played for the entire 2018 season. How are you finding this year at the Sharks?
Yeah, it's been good. Last year was definitely a roller coaster. I probably wasn't in the best mental state as well throughout the year. Most of the time I was in the rehab room by myself and training by myself and that sort of thing, and it was pretty easy to isolate myself, but you know, this year's been unreal. On the field, I've just tried to do the best I can and, you know, try and capture as best a form I can. It's been a little bit hard chopping and changing positions, but you know, I feel like I've been doing the best I can.
Doesn't matter how much stuff I do outside of footy. You know, I raised over 15 grand for a young boy not that long ago. Visited him in hospital, he passed away. You don't hear about that. It's only the bad stuff for me, so I'm used to it.
We saw another side to you in September. It was a raw, honest, vulnerable Josh Dugan, and for a lot of people, particularly the public, they haven't seen that side to you. What was going on in your world in the lead up to that moment?
Yeah, I've always sort of had or tried to keep a hard exterior. I'm not someone to probably open up too much. I'd always tried to bottle things up and just handle everything myself, and by September, I guess it all snowballed and it just overflowed in that press conference because, you know, I was asked about everything that had happened that year, and because I'd bottled it up for so long, it just spilled out, and, you know, I guess everything just come out and hit me all at once. So it was, I think it was a blessing in disguise.
You've been really honest about speaking with your issues with depression and more generally mental health. Can I ask how dark those days got for you?
There'd be days where I basically wouldn't leave the house. I wouldn't talk to my partner, and even times where, you know, I'd be over at my in-laws' house and I'd just be sitting there watching TV, and like people would be talking to me, and I was so zoned out and just over everything that, you know, I couldn't hear anyone talking to me. You know, I even thought about giving up footy. It was to that point where I didn't want to be. I didn't want to put my body through it. I didn't want to train alone. I didn't want to, you know, there was a whole heap of things that sort of just built up.
Is it true that your partner had to wake up some mornings and just double check that you were breathing?
I was using painkillers and things like that to sort of suppress. My body was injured, so I was just using them for that, but then because it was such a hole I was in, you know, I started abusing them. That was probably one of the biggest things that scared me the most, was what I put her through. I suffer from anxiety as well, so I was having a fair few anxiety attacks and panic attacks and things like that, and it was sort of hard to cope with, so then I'd try and numb it, and it was just a vicious cycle that I ended up in a pretty dark hole.
Did anyone at the club know this is what was going on, or did you keep it all to yourself?
Yeah, I pretty much kept it all to myself. Like, there'd be days where I'd turn up physically, but I wasn't here mentally, and a few of the guys picked up on that, and because I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy, I'm pretty laid back, and, you know, I don't mind enjoying a laugh for training and mucking around and stirring the boys up and things like that. So there'd be days where I'd just rock up and, you know, be here, but not really say a word or do anything, and just go through the motions and get through everything that I had to do, and then I'd go home and isolate myself again at home. So yeah, that was probably the biggest thing that anyone knew here, but they probably didn't know how deep it was. Maybe Andrew Fafita, he's helped me a lot over the last sort of, you know, 12 months as well. He's been huge. He's got a heart of gold, even though he looks like a big, ugly bloke, but you know, he's one of the kindest people you'll probably ever meet. He'll do anything for his family and his friends, and You know, along with my family and my partner, he's been huge.
What was the turning point for you when you realised you needed help?
It was off season. I went out for dinner and drinks with a few mates, and then just came home, but didn't stop sort of trying to self-destruct. And then woke up the next day, and my partner just goes to me, you know, I'm not going to keep doing this. Like, you're going to lose me, blah blah, and you know, you're going to throw your career away as well. And yeah, so basically 2 days after that, I was on a flight to Thailand to go to rehab.
When you told your parents that you were heading over to Thailand, what did they say?
Mum was pretty emotional, even my dad was as well. Dad was real apologetic, and I just said to him, I said, it's not, like, it's got nothing to do with you, like, it's not your fault at all.
Do you feel like your parents blame themselves?
Yeah, definitely, they definitely did, but it was never their fault, nor would it ever be. Since then, you know, my dad's opened up a little bit more, and so I've probably taught him a thing or two now where, you know, he feels like he can talk to me or I can talk to him and things like that. So our relationship's gotten better, and you know, so again, it was another blessing in disguise.
In football, you ride the amazing highs that rugby league can give, but it's also really hard to try and stay afloat when everything wants to pull you down after a bad game or an injury. Now, how do you manage?
So now I see a psychologist once a month, whether I'm going good or bad. I just do it regardless, just to stay on top of things and make sure everything's going well. And if I do have anything to speak about, I can get it off my chest. And I've stopped trying to make everyone like me. I think that was probably one of the biggest things that I struggled with in the past. And my psychologist actually said to me, he said, you know, you can handle things three ways. You can take it on yourself, you can project it onto others, or you can bury it. So, you know, that's the biggest thing for me now is, you know, I just bury a lot of things and, you know, just move on with my day and, you know, don't let little things that I can't control affect me.
What's most obvious is this new haircut that you have. The new do. The mullet is gone, and it's all thanks to a charity. You wanted to help out a good friend of yours, Gabe. Can you tell me who Gabe was and why he had such an impact on you?
Gabe was my young friend who had brain cancer, the one that I did the fundraiser for. I thought, you know, I was just going to shave it off, and I was copping slack for it every week, and with the help of my partner and a lot of other people just sharing and reposting, it got up to about $7,000, and my goal was $5,000 in only a month. So yeah, it was massive, and did the shave a couple of weeks ago, and neck's been a lot colder, but you know, it was all for a good cause. It just had such an impact to me where, you know, you can make a positive out of anything, and his pop got pretty emotional saying goodbye and things like that, and then Gabe just said to him, it's going to be okay, Pop. And you know, that's always going to stick with me, just the way that he was so cool and calm, and you know, nothing fazed Gabe, and you know, I've taken that on, and you know, I still get pretty choked up about it, but you know, he was such a good kid, and you know, just his positivity, that's the biggest thing that I've taken out of it. You know, I wear Gabe's name on my wrist every game that I go out, just to remind me, you know.
Why is it important for you to tell your story now?
In the hope that it could help others, and just to break down the stigma. You know, you're not soft if you're a bloke going through tough times.
Josh is here with myself, Brett Murray, and we're here for the Sharks Make Bullying History Foundation's Sharks.
Suicides in young people a lot of them are attributed to bullying at school. We don't want to get to a point where, you know, you got 12 and 13-year-olds killing themselves because they feel like they've got nowhere to go or no one to talk to. And then State of Mind is just about breaking down that stigma about footy players have to be tough and you know, not speak about their problems, and you know, we're superheroes, we don't have issues and things like that, whereas, you know, I dare say a lot of us have issues, and I think with our job there's a constant anxiety about selections and injuries and all that sort of thing anyway, so you know, I dare say that the majority of the players will struggle at one point with certain things, and it's just about, you know, knocking down that wall, and, you know, not only just for the NRL but outside as well, just showing that it's okay, that, you know, if you're struggling you can find help or you can speak to someone, and go about things the right way rather than, you know, finding yourself in a hole like I did and trying to do it all on your own.